Hello everyone, welcome back to Real Reds Talk. Jarrad Branthwaite's imminent to Manchester United, the cereal bowl to the milk. It's a perfect fit in my opinion, and we're going to discuss that. That is the main topic of the show today. We're also going to talk about Todibo and the interview that he's done. I think it's with the Daily Mail or some random outlet like that. So we're going to discuss that. There was definitely a paywall, I'll tell you that for free to actually read the article. But thank God for aggregators accounts on Twitter. Because we've got all the quotes that we're going to dive into. There's also an Ineos report in terms of the standards that they are setting and the work that they're currently doing that I want to get into. There's a South American scouting network being set up as we speak right now. I mean, I don't know why they haven't had one there anyway. If you look at other clubs who have been successful and you look at some of the players that are coming through, and again, I will dive into that. And also we have an update on Erik ten Hag from Fabrizio Romano. So I want to talk about that. So the main story with Jarrad Branthwaite, we're going to that's the first topic, right? That's what we're going to discuss. But I'm going to try something a little bit different today. So this is mainly for the live viewers who are joining right now on TikTok and YouTube. And I'm going to let you guys decide which topic we talk about first. So we're going to do the Branthwaite's one first. But if you are live and you're watching right now, let me just switch screens to show you what I mean. So you just pick one box, basically. And whatever that box that is, that's the topic we're going to talk about, and I will reveal it. But we're going to talk about Jarrad Branthwaite first. That's what I really, really want to do, because that is the main story. Now, he's seen as an ideal partner for Lisandro Martinez. Everton want around 60 to 70 million pounds. That's the price that's being put out there. Now, a couple of things on this with Jarrad Branthwaite. 70 million quid is a lot of money. I don't think Ineos can afford, Ineos and Co, whoever it is who's doing it. Obviously, the Glazers are going to be sanctioning certain things as well. But I don't think they can afford to spend 70 million quid on one centre-back, especially when we need a couple, you need a midfielder, you need a striker. I don't need to get into the budget restraints because I've spoken about that in depth quite a lot. But looking at him as a pure player and a pure centre-back, I really, really like him. Tall, quick, decent on the ball, can improve. He's good 1v1. They've got a good defensive record at Everton, although I know the way Sean Dyche kind of sets up, it is hard to beat. He's good at the old school defending kind of things. And he fits the Ineos model in terms of his age profile. So I think as a partner to Lisandro, I think they would complement each other really, really well. And I also think he's really good on the ball, but you don't really get to see that side of him because, like I said, at Everton, the way they set up, they are very pragmatic. That's not to say they don't play out from the back, but they do go long quite a lot. So you don't get to see his ability on the ball as much. But in tight areas, you've seen him against like Ødegaard, for example, in an Arsenal game. There's been a couple of times where he's been really composed, and I think this is why Ineos are looking at him. The only thing I have, and again, this is not me comparing him to Harry Maguire whatsoever. It gives me that feeling like 70 million on an English centre-back. You know, Maguire, when we signed him, was good defending the edge of his box. Branthwaite's much quicker. He's much more agile. So I'm not comparing him in that sense. But when I see 70 million quid, English centre-back, I do get a little bit of PTSD. I can't lie. But the positive thing is, I suppose, Everton need to sell, I believe, due to financial restrictions. So maybe there's a bit of budging on the price there. Maybe you can lower that down to 50 million quid. I mean, I've even seen some reports of 40 million pound. If you get a centre-back of that quality for that much, I mean, it's not even a question for me. Absolutely, I take him every day, twice on a Sunday, 100%. But what about the player as well? Because you have to consider the player in all of this. Does the player want to move? Are there any other potential clubs who are looking at him who are in the Champions League? Now, I've not seen any other links personally to like other big clubs. Has anyone else? Arsenal interested? No, they've got Saliba, Gabriel. I mean, fucking Man City have got centre-backs crawling out of their ears. They've got, Diaz, Ake, Stones, fucking Akanji, and the list is endless. So I don't think they're struggling with centre-backs. They'll be absolutely fine. Tottenham have got Romero and Van der Ven. Like, United need a centre-back. We desperately need a centre-back. And I feel like Branthwaite is a player that Fergie would have signed at the time. You go back these years. You look at Rio, for example, 30 million quid. Again, not comparing him to Rio, but I'm saying you're looking at the best kind of young British defensive talent in the Premier League. Branthwaite is definitely one of them. And I think this is a signing that we should make, in my personal opinion. But I also like Todibo as well. And I'm going to get onto the Todibo's interview because I thought a few things that Todibo said in it was pretty interesting. So, yeah. Branthwaite, let me know, would you take Jarrad Branthwaite at Manchester United, yes or no? And what is the max you would pay for his services? I'll get into the comments in a moment. Am I the only one that just doesn't rate Branthwaite that much? I wouldn't say you're the only one. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that have concerns. I mentioned about, you know, his ability on the ball can maybe a bit exposed a bit more when you're playing at United. Obviously, it's a different setup, the way we want to go, our style. We want to be, especially under Eric Ten Hag, direct, attacking. You want to play a high line. It's different. It's a completely different setup to Everton. So it'll take a bit of getting used to, a bit of getting accustomed to. But yeah, if you're a good player, you're expected to adapt. That's how Man United works, right? Yeah, 100%, 45, 50 million. I think, yeah, that's the price tag that you want to be looking at. When it starts getting into silly territory and you're talking about 70 million quid, I mean, I'm just like, the budget for United this year, and I keep banging this drum, and I know, and I'm probably pecking people's head with it, but we can't afford to be spending 70 million quid on centre-backs. We just simply can't, whether you're in Europe or not. The amount of targets that we want, you've got to keep it near the £50 million mark. Elise, for example, got a release clause just under 60 million, I think Fabrizio Romano said. You know, if you're going to get 3 players in, let's say, for that price, that's 150 million quid. I don't even think that's our budget. So you're going to have to sell players and sell them really, really well. And notoriously United in transfer windows don't really do that. McMillan, Todibo and Branthwaite both come. I would take that. Richard Hawkins in the chat. Good morning to you, sir. I hope you're very well, Richard. Thank you for tuning in. I'm just going to let a couple more people get into the chat. And then, as I mentioned before, I'm going to put the screen on now, yeah? So if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. If you're not on YouTube and you're on TikTok, come and join us. Click the link in the description and you can get involved in this, something interactive. You decide the topic, right? So we're gonna let you have control of the show to a certain extent, right? So one of these boxes is one of the topics we had on the agenda, yeah? One of the topics on the table that we're going to talk about. You let me know, so you guys who are watching right now, which box you want to open, and whatever box you open, whatever the majority is in the chat, we will open that, and that's the first topic that we will discuss. So just bear that in mind. Get it in the chat. Again, people in TikTok, get it in the chat if you're watching on YouTube as well, and then we'll dive into it. But we'll stick with Branthwaite for now, and I'll just read out a few comments. Todibo all the way. I've still not seen enough from Branthwaite, and I don't want another Maguire. Richard saying box 4. Let me know who else in the chat. There's quite a few of you in there, so don't stay quiet. Get your comments in. Branthwaite says PNC. We should go for players around 40 to 45 mil. I think if you look at Man City, for example, I mentioned this on the show the other day, but again, I'm going to repeat myself. They don't usually spend a lot of money. I know, like, probably the past couple of years, it's Grealish and Gvardiol, right? So Grealish is 100 million quid, Gvardiol 90 million pound. But usually, they don't go past the 50 to 60 million pound mark, do they? Like, notoriously. Some of the best players they bought for 50 million quid. Kevin De Bruyne, for example, Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz, I think, was like 55 million. I'm trying to think who else. Rodri was like 40 million, I think. What a fucking steal that was. Foden Academy product. Doku, 50 million quid. So I think Haaland, according to reports, 50 million quid. Bernardo Silva, I believe, was about 40 to 50 when they bought him from Monaco. So, yeah. Josh saying we need 2 centre-backs, a left-back, and a CDM, and a striker, don't forget. And they're looking at a creative winger, which is interesting. Let me just pull the screen back up because there's more reviews in the chat. Which box do you want here? That's going to be the first topic. So you guys get to decide which topic we discuss first. So when we have a majority vote, I will reveal that box and we will get into that topic. So come on, work with me, people. This is for you. I'm putting the power in your hands. Something different today. Also, people who are in TikTok, come and join us on YouTube and get involved in this. Something interactive. And hit that subscribe button as well. I believe we're on 5,000. I'm not even going to look at the sub count. I'm going to try and remember. 5,160, I think we're on at the minute. So hit that. Richard saying box 4. So I'm going to go with that in a minute unless anyone else wants to go for a different box. Box 4 is the bottom right-hand corner. We've got Ed Barrett saying Tosin and Todibo, cheap and cheerful, and the youth can fill in where needed. Ed Barrett saying box 3. So we've got one vote for box 3, one vote for box 4. Sahil Hussein saying box 1. So that's one vote each. One vote each. You need a majority here. You know what I'm saying? 100% Willie can do a job. That sounds like a euphemism. Fellow countryman is a better word. Excuse me. I see you very less critical of your fellow Brit, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Is that being fair to the club you love? I mean, I have a balanced opinion on whatever, so, yeah. Box 4, box 3, box 1, and box 3, says Sahil. He's changed his mind. So box 3's winning it at the moment. Are we going with box 3? I feel like I'm doing an auction. I want a 1, I want a 2, I want a 1, I want a 1, I want a 1, and I want a 1, and a bump, sold. Box 3 we're going for on this. I'm going to give it 10 seconds in case anyone wants to mix it up and go for a different box. Sorry, I'm just angry. That's fine, man. You do your thing, brother. No problem at all. Sorry, I feel like I'm kind of leaving the people out on TikTok, but you can get involved. We're live right now. Smash that like button. Let's get into it. I'm going to go box 3. Yeah? Right, let's do box 3 then. I'm just trying to remember which one that was. We've got that, and then we've got, yes, I know which one that. Oh, McMillan's coming with box 4. That's 2 votes each now. So Richard's voted for box 4. McMillan's voted for box 4. Sahil and Ed have both voted for box 3. Again, it's tied again here, so we need 1 vote. Lucky Singh with box 4. Right, we're going with box 4 then, yeah? That's got the majority. So you guys are deciding this one. Let me pull it up. And it's going to be... Oh, Martin Goodman's coming with box 3. It's going with box 3. Now it's tied again. So it needs 1 more vote to tie it over. I think it's 3 votes each, right? For box 3 and box 4. People in there are going, what the fuck are you talking about? I need 1 more vote. I didn't think about this through. If it starts getting like level, how are you going to decide it? I might just have to pick one. Unless we need 1 more vote from someone who hasn't voted already, who's in the chat. Even if you're in TikTok, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Vote. So you guys are going to get the decider in this. Whatever you put in the chat, the next person, just put 3 or 4, whoever it is. Mike Scully's put 3. There we go. Right. Let's get into it. Number 3. That is, let me just scroll down to it, the scouting network that we are setting up. I think the Academy Scoop done a fantastic story on this. And let me just go back to the main screen. So, Manchester United scouting department are putting increased emphasis on South American recruitment opportunities ahead of a summer hindered by financial fair play restrictions. The following players have been watched by United scouts this season. So, Juan Jimenez, who's a centre-back, Rosario, Central, Aaron, I can't say his name. You know the guy from Boca Juniors, and Salamino. I can't pronounce it properly. Franco Mastriciano, Ian Suabre, and you've got Thomas Parmo as well. These are all 16 to 18-year-old players who are highly touted by many, many clubs. And any potential signings could be directly signed by or loaned out to Ineos-owned clubs, Nice and Lausanne. So obviously they're the other clubs that Ratcliffe and Ineos own, which is good when you want to loan these kind of players out. But when we're talking about unknown gems, absolutely 100% yes, please. And you look at South America, some of the talent they're putting out at the moment, my word. Oh my, you talk about Enzo Fernandez, Casado, McAllister, Julian Alvarez, João Pedro, Nunes, Endrick, Vinicius, Rodrigo. You could go on and on and on and on. They produce the top talents in football at the moment, like at every club, in every league. I would say France and South American players are probably the most successful ones. And you've got to say England are getting there now. You look at some of the talents we're producing in Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham. We are definitely up there. But scouting networks, I think Brighton have one set up in like, I think Colombia, Argentina, is it Estonia? Is it Estonia, is that right? Not Estonia. Who am I thinking of? Ecuador. Okay, no, not Estonia. But they've got these like little subtle scouting networks set up, finding these gems and then developing them. The left back there is at the minute, he had a really good game against us. Can't remember the lad's name, but he came through that kind of a similar system. Man City have a very deep scouting network set up as well in South America, where they pulled, I just mentioned someone like Julian Alvarez, for example, brought him over for 15 million quid, and you're looking at that is such a steal right now. So if you can go and find players like that, amazing, absolutely amazing. And then, as I mentioned then as well, in like you've got the partner clubs to send these players to and loan them out and develop them, and keep an eye on them. I think that's amazing as well. Like, because you need them partner clubs to send them off to. You know, if you're sending them on loan, for example, when we first sent Ahmad to Rangers, the fit wasn't really right. Whereas when you know what kind of club it is, the fabric, how the coaches are, how they work with young players, the integration is a lot easier when you're bringing these players through. So the fact that we have them clubs now to kind of bleed these youngsters in, fantastic. Ecuador, yes, that's the one I was looking at. So yeah, I'm absolutely a fan of that. Juventus, Dortmund, let's get double sale. Jadon Sancho and Mason Greenwood, says Lucky Singh. Yeah, I mean, I went in depth about them yesterday, so I don't want to talk about Greenwood and Sancho too much, but I agree with you there. Right, let's go on to the next topic then. Box 4 was the other one, so that was Erik ten Hag and the update from Fabrizio Romano. So let's dive into that, and this is on his YouTube channel. He said Manchester United parting ways with Erik ten Hag remains a strong possibility. In case they do, there are several candidates to replace him. Thomas Tuchel would be very keen on becoming United manager despite the club having no Champions League football. Tuchel knows it is a new project. And I think it's interesting when you look at the landscape of the way it's going at the minute with the management situation. Kieran McKenna's, I don't know if it's official yet, but he was basically saying he's got a new lucrative deal with Ipswich. So that seems like that's not happening. Tuchel, would it be the right fit with Ineos? You have to talk about that and go in depth about that. Thomas Frank, not ready in my opinion, and definitely isn't a better coach than Erik ten Hag, so throw that one out the window. And Poch, I don't think there's enough noise around it currently. And also Poch, when he leaves a club, usually takes like a year break. I don't know if he's doing a similar thing this season, or maybe he'll be on punishment for the Euros. I don't know. So Tuchel seems like the strongest option at the moment out of the ones that are available. Is it worth? I know Tuchel's won quite a few things. I think he's won like 8 significant trophies: Champions Leagues, Club World Cups, French League, French Cup. I think he's won a German Cup as well. And he's won the odd one. Do you know what I mean? Ten Hag won trophies himself, won trophies at Ajax, won trophies at United. Knows again the fabric, knows the issues there. Is it worth bringing in a new coach? Is Tuchel better than Ten Hag? Would you prefer his style? Let's ask you, because I know my opinion, but I want to know your opinion. Would you prefer Thomas Tuchel's style to Ten Hag's? From what I've seen from both coaches, Tuchel, I mentioned this on the video before, again, so apologies if I'm repeating myself, but just to kind of put it out there, Tuchel at Dortmund had a flexible attacking system, like a 4-3-3, and it was quite nice in the eye. Then you look at PSG, there was multiple systems that he used. Sometimes he used like a 4-2-2, 4-2-3-1, and he would mix it up to get the best out, or try to get the best out of certain players, which we know coaches have struggled at PSG before. Then what really impressed me about Tuchel was when he went in at Chelsea, they was leaking goals, you know, the worst you've ever seen, like we was towards the second half of the season. Under Lampard, they was leaking a lot of goals. And then when Tuchel came in, the instant impact defensively that he had was so impressive, considering he'd only been with them a week. I know it was like a 0-0 draw against Wolves or 1-0, but kept a clean sheet in his first game, and he was just solid throughout. And that team that won the Champions League, I think they didn't even finish in the Champions League spots, I don't think. I think they finished outside of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, if there's any Chelsea fans in the chat. So the job that he done was impressive, in my opinion, and I think he's a good coach. I think he's very respected in the game, but he does clash with players. So Ineos had to be prepared for that. For this guy to come in, start stamping his authority, he'll get rid of certain players that he's not asked. You saw him; he's arguing with like fucking Goretzka and Kimmich, who've been at Bayern for ages, and that was one of the reasons why the club was the management above him and the board level was a bit not sure about Tuchel. And he was playing like Eric Dyer over Kim Min-jae and stuff like that. So there are a lot of question marks around Tuchel, in my opinion. But regardless, like I always say, whichever way you look at this situation, the sooner they make the decision, the better. And I hope they keep Ten Hag, in my opinion. I want him to stay. Maybe it is the emotion of the FA Cup. From Ineos' perspective, you can't just base next season off one game. You can't, and off emotion. So if they make the decision to get rid of him, that's up to them. But I think it's a very, very bold and very brave decision, because if you get rid of him and we're here in next year and they fucked it up, that could set us back a few years again. Do you know what I'm saying? And then it's another 3 years before we get back to the top. So, you know, if you're going to pull the trigger, make sure it's right. Make sure it's right. Right, let's get into the chats because there's quite a few of you. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We are currently on 5,161. So, is anyone in YouTube who's new to the channel and you want to join this Real Red Ultra community, and it's a very tight-knit community, please do hit that subscribe button, you absolute legends. And likewise with TikTok as well. Come and join us in YouTube, man. And let me know your thoughts on Tuchel and Ten Hag. Lily saying got to keep him. Rashad saying João Felix to United. That's cap, mate. Honestly, that João Felix story is just nonsense. Just something someone threw out there. We can't keep starting all over again. Exactly, Charlie. Exactly. Do Ineos want to break the wheel with bringing someone in like Tuchel, or do they want to just stick with Ten Hag? From a lot of the reports that I'm seeing, I feel like he's gone. I do. Romano keeps mentioning it. Ornstein keeps mentioning it. You know, speaking to other... Why would you speak to other representatives or managers if you're not going to pull the trigger? Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me personally. But I would really want to stick with him. So Ineos, you better make the right decision, or you will have United fans on your neck. It's a nice honeymoon period for you now. You're taking over a ship that was being guided into a fucking iceberg. But you start steering this and it starts going back towards the iceberg, you will equally get the same amount of shit. Because as fans, as a collective, we all want Man United back to the top, right? That's the main aim. That's the main purpose. It's the whole reason why you support a club. You want to see us win trophies. You want to see us competing near the top of it and competing in Europe, more to the point. And that comes, I want to say that leads me on to my next topic, but you guys are deciding the next topic. So let's see if you pick the right one. And I'll read out some chat. Sorry, I said I was going to do it then, and I'll get it done now. Richard saying McKenna signed his contract to Ipswich. There you go then. There you go. That's McKenna gone, who was reports to believe that he was kind of the number one signing. The number one target, should I say. Ed Barrett saying our scouts have always been good, but the people they report to have been confused by the information presented. A very good point. Tuchel is not better than Ten Hag. The only one would be Don Carlos Ancelotti. Yeah, especially if you want to deal with the egos in the dressing room. Irfan Kadale, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, brother, saying, I need Rafael Leao and Kvaratskhelia. Going for some scouting in the Italian league there. I do like Rafael Leao, I have to admit. No one else wants Tuchel, so why should we? Says, again, fantastic point. Yeah, that is a bit surprising, isn't it, that he's available. And, I mean, who needs a manager at the minute? I think Juventus have now got Motta. Barcelona have got Hansi Flick. Brighton won't be able to track Tuchel anyway, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know what clubs are available. Bayern Munich, obviously, they've already told them they wanted to go, and then they've got Vincent Kompany in now. So, yeah, no matter your opinion on Ten Hag, he's not being treated fairly. From a financial and logical point of view, sticking with Trophy Ten Hag would be the best choice. Stephanie Griffiths says, big up Real Reds Talk. Thank you, Stephanie. I hope you're doing well, and thank you very much for your chat. McMillan, is Poch the only logical replacement for Ten Hag? Again, you rewind in time a little bit there, because I remember when, I remember when Ten Hag first came in, that was the debate, wasn't it? Poch, you had a lot of the ex-players pundits saying, go for Poch, and the fans' choice really was Eric Ten Hag. So, I think you just rewind in time there and going back, do you want Poch or do you want to keep Ten Hag? Weird, isn't it? I do think Poch has flowers now in terms of how his time ended at Chelsea, because he did turn the ship around. He was playing nice football, and he did develop players. You look at Cole Palmer, Jesus Christ. And again, I'm not sure if that was a Poch signing, if he pushed for that, but yeah, I'm not sure. Love everyone in the chat, by the way, the community that we're developing. You guys tuning in every single day, absolute legends, man. And people in TikTok as well, you're all a bunch of legends. Right, whilst we've got 27 of you in the chat, let's go to the last two topics. So you get box 1 or box 2. That's the next topic that we're going to discuss. Then obviously whatever's left, that's going to be the next topic anyway. But whatever you guys decide in the chat, you have control of the topics that we're gonna choose. So the top left box or the top right one, whichever gets the majority, that is the next topic that we are going to discuss. And these are two of the biggest ones. So yeah. Sam's just put a link in the description as well for members, or if you want to become one. The latest video is a letter to Eric Ten Hag. The link is there, and a couple of you guys have already seen the video anyway, and you've put some really nice comments in there, so I appreciate that. If you want to become a Real Red Ultra member, click the link in the description or click the join button. Random guy there has just been gifted a membership. What an absolute legend. And Charlie Malman was the recipient of that. Yeah, some legends in the chat, man. Random guy, what an absolute fucking legend you are, honestly. So yeah, Charlie Malman, let me know what you think of that video. A letter to Eric Ten Hag. We've got another video dropping on Man City's 115 charges as well. We're going to dive into that and we're going to give our opinion. So that'll be the next members video and that'll be dropping towards the end of the week for you guys. Right, what are we saying? What's the vote saying? Box 1. McMillan saying box 1. Stephanie Griffith saying box 1. Everyone's saying box 1, I think. That's a landslide, isn't it? Unless anyone else puts any votes in now. I'll give it 10 seconds. I feel like I should have had like a countdown timer on the thing. Box 1 it is. Let's get into box 1. And that is Bosh Todibo interview. Let's dive into it. This is what I really want. I was kind of hoping you'd picked box 1 first, but we've done the ringer. Maybe save best to last. Maybe that is the best way to do it. Right, so Jean-Clair Todibo has done an interview with Mail Sport, and he had a paywall and he was asking for money to read an interview. Anyway, he's done an interview. He spoke about Ineos and Man United, and he got asked about Ineos' influence at Nice. Said they bring a winning mentality. They change a lot of things. They give us comfort, so there's a mood around the team to allow the team to succeed. They put a lot of importance on being around the players to give them the opportunity to have the best performance they can. So Jim Ratcliffe, he speaks and jokes with the players. So Jim's got a couple of one-liners there. I'd love to hear them. And then there's Dave. For Dave, every detail is important. He talks a lot about that. All he thinks about his performance, his experience in cycling, means he knows a lot about sporting performance. Before you start to think about the football, players should think about what they need to do to perform. Ineos are responsible for mindset, but also as players, we take responsibility because we are competitors and want to win. Look, nice to hear Todibo speaking positively. I need to switch screens and I just realised. Nice to hear Todibo speaking positively about Ineos, but from the research I've done, you read, I know this is a bit geeky, but you read Reddit forums on Nice from fans and what they said, and sometimes you have to translate it from French into English on Google Translate, but that's, again, another completely different story. And then when you read journalists who are very well connected around France and what they put, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, despite the kind of positive PR that's being put out about. I'm not saying that they're terrible owners or anything by any stretch of the imagination, but from what I've read, one, they've struggled to make an impact in Europe and do well going out in the group stages. We know all about that, so maybe it is a good fit. They've fluctuated in the league. They finished 9th, 5th, 9th, and gone up and down. Again, if there's any Nice fans in the chat, which I highly doubt, please do correct me if I'm wrong. They reached the final of the Cup for the first time in 25 years, but lost the final. So that's like the biggest kind of, I don't know, whatever it is you want to call it. The first major final for 25 years. The spending has increased, so naturally you would like to think they'd climb up the table anyway. And they've had 7 different managers under the Ineos regime, and they only took over 5 years ago. So they've struggled with management. There's been stuff going on at board level as well. So while Ineos have brought this kind of substantial investment and ambition to Nice, the results have been a mixture of progress, whichever way you want to look at it, and setbacks. They've had quite a few setbacks as well. So, look, I've constantly said on this channel, and people don't want to hear it, but Ineos do not guarantee success. Everything that's going on at the moment, and everything they've done in terms of individuals that they're bringing in, the kind of really detailed work at Carrington and with staff and all this kind of stuff's fantastic and it sounds amazing. It's not guaranteed they're going to come in and United are going to be challenging for titles again. I'm sorry, I know some people don't want to hear that, and I know there's a positive thing around them in a minute, but just be prepared for that, because football is a difficult game to get right, and they've struggled at Nice as well. Stephanie Griffith saying, just subscribed, it'd be rude not to. Absolute legend, thank you very much. Go get him, let him be the first signing. Ed saying Ineos would have had to renegotiate the terms of his last year anyway, so the victory may strengthen his hand to such a degree that Ten Hag's making it hard for them. 12:26, I don't know what that means. Yeah, sorry. What we're saying in TikTok, when do you think the first signing will be, mate? It's hard to say. You would like to think Ineos want to get off to a quick start, so I think it'll be a change from the last previous summers where we're dragging our heels and we only have one signing on pre-season. I think you could see an Elise and a Branthwaite within the first week, genuinely. So from the 14th, the first 2 weeks of June, I'd expect to see a couple of signings. I'd be worried if we didn't. So that's when I expect us to make the first signing. Todibo goes on to talk about his past and his future. He said he had trials at Nottingham Forest, Le Havre, and United when he was 15, but chose to join Toulouse. The culture was different at United and Forest. They weren't like the players in my neighbourhood, just trying to enjoy it. They were on a mission, trying to be a professional. That wasn't my mindset at the time. I was there to enjoy and play football. And then he got asked the final question, if he wants to move to Manchester United. He said, I'm going to keep that for me. Nice try. But if you look at Todibo's career, when he was younger, again, you do a bit of due diligence. At Barcelona, he struggled. He struggled to really kind of adapt when he was younger. He had a couple of loan spells where it didn't really work out for him. But then you kind of shake them cobwebs off, and sometimes you find your feet. I mentioned Ahmad before. He had a loan to Rangers, didn't work out whatsoever. Just did not work. And then he went to Sunderland and absolutely murdered it. So sometimes it's just like the marriage of a perfect club at the right time. I think like any football player in Europe, they want to play in the Premier League. It's the best league in the world. It's the highest paid league, unless you want to discuss Saudi. It's where the money's at as well. Like competitive-wise, financially, everything you want to kind of throw in there in that kind of cooking pot, the Premier League is the best to be at for any player currently at the moment. And obviously United are still one of the biggest clubs in the world, coming off an FA Cup win. Back in Europe, 2 trophies in 2 years. It's still an attractive proposition for Todibo. I think the price tag as well, 40 million quid. Ratcliffe knows everyone at the club. It'll be put out there like, oh, well, it's not going to be done like that. Sir Jim can't just drop the fucking, the manager of Nice or the sporting director at Nice and just say, yeah, we want Todibo rather than me. There'll have to be like discussions, and Nice will obviously add their own best interest in there. Likewise with the fans. Because you could upset fans by doing that. You think the fans at Nice, especially with all this thing that's going on with Europe as well, and the fact that, we could be knocked down into the Conference League, and it's already a bit butting heads. So they do need to be careful with that, in my opinion. Right, should we get on to the last topic then? Let's do it. Let me reveal it first. In fact, let me see if there's any chat for you guys. Nope, we're good. Right, so the last topic we have about Ineos report. The Ineos report. Now, so Ineos, this is according to Time Sport, Ineos have initiated the biggest shake-up of Carrington's working practices and environment in the complex's 23-year existence. One of the major renovations will involve knocking through walls of offices to create 2 communal working areas for manager and staff. At United, Ineos want to become more cost-effective as a business, introduce a more collaborative approach at Carrington by creating new communal areas for the manager, coaches and backroom staff, upgrade the gym facilities at the training ground, and cut loose the staff who are not committed to the new regime. And as Big Dave would say, small margins, right? Small margins. All this kind of stuff adds up. I thought the gym facilities was hilarious because we remember the Cristiano Ronaldo interview where he's talking about, we returned years later and it's still the exact same. There's some chips and he said it was like some chips in the jacuzzi or something like that, or like the pool wasn't like heated right, or I can't remember the specific quotes, but it was definitely something Ronaldo in the jacuzzi or something. And I think the fact that he said they want to cut loose the staff who are not committed to the new regime, who does that include? Are you talking about the dinner ladies? Well, not dinner ladies. I don't know what they'd be. Whoever the chefs that are there, or who are you talking about there? Just the everyday working people. I'll tell you one thing: don't get rid of Kath. Keep that woman on. I don't give a shit what you do, Ineos. That'll be the worst. That'll be your biggest downfall. You get rid of Kath at front desk, you're done for, mate. You're done for. Ineos out if they do that. Leave that sweet lady alone. She's a fucking amazing. Also, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has identified Manchester United's dire injury record as a critical area to address. Ineos are intent on strengthening United in the summer transfer window, but are conscious that a squad of quality players is of no use if many are unavailable consistently. Now, there are huge question marks, and I will get... Do you reckon Elise will come to United? I do. He's a United fan as well, by the way. There are huge question marks going into next season, when we talk about injuries, about Lissandro, Shaw, Malacia, Casemiro if he's still here, and Mason Mount. And there is no guarantee that they are going to be able to stay fit unless there is a complete revamp of the medical department. and miracles kind of happen. I don't know if it is the medical department or the way he was training, or maybe it was a blend of both. Maybe we will see him fit on a more consistent basis. And if we're going to be successful to a certain extent, these guys are going to need to stay fit, because you can bring in signings, but the players that you already have there have to. Lissandro, for example, a main example. You saw him back in the final against City, a phenomenal man. He has to stay fit. Shaw's so important as a left back. But if they're out again and they miss another 8 to 10 months, it's going to be a setback. It's going to be a setback. I'm thinking the way we set up towards the end of the season, if we did that for the full season, especially in the big games or in Europe or whatever, would we have picked up as many injuries rather than playing that chaotic end-to-end football? Probably not. That's why you have to question some of the things that Ten Hag was doing. Is he training them too hard? Also, how do you condition players to keep up the intensity of the Premier League without pushing them hard in training? There were certain players who never even got an injury. I know Bruno had a little one, but he was fit for the majority of the season. Dalot fit majority of the season. Garnacho fit majority of the season. All of the season. Played like 40 games in a row. So do you just need more robust physical players? Was he training them too hard? You can only speculate, really, can't you? Because we're not in the training sessions. We don't see what goes on every single day. So I don't know. I do think it's probably a blend of both. Shaw will be 29 now. Can't rely on him with his record, and should be looking at a permanent replace. Again, I wouldn't disagree, mate. We are selling our current sub, so if the players get injured, we have no backups. We need depth. Downgrade for him, to be honest. Sancho and Anthony prove that wingers are flopping. It's always random fans in the chat on TikTok. Ed saying, given the cost-cutting measures that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is implementing, the Todibo deal may be made difficult by Nice being reluctant to accept any type of discount, regardless of the size. I agree, Ed. Yeah, I don't think... people look at it and go, oh, well, Ratcliffe owns Nice, so, yeah, easy, get him. But I think the fans will push back, because Todibo's a massively important player to them. One thing I will say about Nice is they have a really good defensive record. They conceded the least amount of goals, I think, in the French league. They've got a top defensive record. And obviously, Todibo is a big part of that. So there'll be pushback from the fans. There'll be pushback from management and players there, etc. But ultimately, when Man United come in, if Man United came in now and put 40 million bid in for Todibo, I 100% believe he would go straight away. But then if Tottenham come in and they offer 50 million, that's when it starts getting a little bit sticky. And Tottenham did go in for him in January. So we will have to see what happens this summer. I think it's going to be fascinating. I mean, the transfer window opens in literally 2 weeks' time. So we are going to be live every single day. Every story that breaks, we're going to be here. And I want to see you guys in the chat. And make sure you turn that notification bell if you can, so you don't miss a show when we do go live. Because things are going to start heating up, I'm telling you now. Likewise with TikTok as well. I'm going to be live on there every single day. With any form of updates that we've got, because I expect quick business at the start of June when the window opens. You've obviously got the Euros on as well at the same time when it opens, so it's going to be so busy this summer. They come back from the Euros, and then pre-season starts again. In America, we do pre-season, and then Premier League starts. We've got a longer format in the Champions League. You've got Carabao Cup, you've got FA Cup. It is football. But for the next 6 weeks, it's going to be transfers, and a lot of movement around Europe. Some big boys moving on, like your Mbappe's, etc. So, yeah, I think I'm really, really excited to get into that. Probably going to be the busiest summer for a while. Random guy saying, what do you think of Richarlison for 35 to 40 million? Before the Tottenham move, I would have gambled on it, but I don't know. I think with Richarlison, I think he's all bark and no bite. That's what comes into my head when I think about him. Send Cambualo on loan to Nice for a season. I won't be opposed to that. But again, I think we need depth. I think we should probably keep him. Judged off this season. Need to buy 2 centre-backs, Todibo and Branthwaite, and a defensive midfielder and a left-back. I think everyone's probably in agreement with that, to be honest. A striker is definitely needed as well. We need cover for Rasmus. I was going to say, especially with Martial going, but Martial was never fit and available anyway, so it is what it is. Anyway, people, lovely people in the chat, legends in the chat. Thank you to everyone who's been commenting and leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate every single one of you. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. What day are we on today? Is it Thursday? It's almost weekend. That's all that matters, right? That is all that matters. So one more day until we hit the weekend. And then, yeah, let's see what the news brings us, because something could break within the next 4 hours. So if it does, I'll go live. And then also over the weekend as well, we've got plenty of stuff coming. Some members videos, like I mentioned. We're going to discuss the 115 charges at Man City and expose it and really get into it, and when it's going to be dealt with and what the actual charges are. And the whole kind of shebang with that one. And anyone who's watched the letter to Eric Ten Hag, if you are a member and you've enjoyed it, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And yeah, if you haven't watched it, make sure you go check it out and let us know what you think. Also, check the show out Sam did last night. If you looking for content to watch, he was live and discussing quite a few things. So yeah, if you're stuck for content, there's plenty on this channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah, love every single